Hello, and welcome to our video audio podcast, Couched in Color. I'm your mental health expert, teen and young adult crusader, and psychological scientist, Dr. Alfie. This podcast reflects my life's work, helping our young people and young at heart identify mental health challenges, disrupt negative patterns, and discover the best versions of themselves. I'm so happy that you've joined us. For over 20 years, I want you to know that I've had my finger on the pulse of BIPOC teen mental health. I recognize that historically and currently, with these dual pandemics of COVID and racial injustice raging, our young people are suffering, sometimes they're struggling, and always the care that they need is quite scarce. So each week, I'm joined by young people, mental health experts, celebrities, and influencers to help us uncover the secrets to healing the hearts and minds of our BIPOC teens, their families, and their communities. Here at Couched in Color, we believe deeply in spreading love and light, bolstered by culturally relevant science. So let's dive in. So it's my pleasure to be here with my new friend. We met, can you believe it's been 2 years?
Yes, and going.
There you go, and going, that's right. Dr. Jeff Rocker. I'm going to allow my colleague to introduce himself. And please, sir, tell us a little bit about you. I always ask everybody to do one thing for me, to say their name, say whatever you want to say, but also say your pronouns, because I always try to signal to my young people. You know, I'll talk a little bit about what I watched you all do when we met and how important it was for inclusivity and all those kinds of things. But if you would just introduce yourself, say your pronouns, and tell the people what you want the people to know about you, sir.
All right, he and him. This is Dr. Jeff Rocker, licensed mental health counselor, aka celebrity therapist, as they know me here in the local community and nationally as well. And what I specialize in is individual, couples, and families. And of course, I work with teens as well. Now, I'm also the founder of a nonprofit organization called How We Sit, which is all about dispelling the myths about therapy. Also, I'm also a CEO of a company called Rocker Management, where I train young clinicians within the field how to brand and market themselves as therapists in the field.
Oh man, I ain't know all that now. Okay, so you training people how to brand themselves. Now tell me that I think that's a wonderful way to start. Tell me, why is it important for therapists and mental health providers to brand themselves? Why do you feel like that's important?
Well, first off, it's just sad to see that, in school, they don't teach you how to brand yourself. So kids are learning, I can't even count kids, students are learning therapeutic approaches, but they don't learn how to run a private practice. And when I talk to many therapists, one thing is they say that the reason they hesitate about going to this field is because they don't make no money. Reasons why they don't make no money because they're working for nonprofit organizations all the rest of their life, and they tend to shy away from it or even go into this field. So what I teach these young students when they graduate is how to brand themselves early, because I realize it's not what you know, is who you know as well. Well, you need both of them, but you got to know, you have to have the resources. So, marketing, things that are free, like social media, people don't realize how much that's a benefit for you. Use it. And that's what I teach young students, how to do so.
That's awesome, because I follow you. Everybody, now tell us your handle, because I want everybody to hear it so they can, not that you need more followers.
I can get a
but tell them your handle.
You can follow me at AskJeff, AskJeff on Instagram.
Perfect. So I follow you and I see all them pictures looking all fly. And now you in a fraternity, right? You a Kappa?
Kappa Alpha Psi all
there
day.
There you go. All right. AKA over here. Yes, my Sarah, Madam Vice President. And I went to Howard too. So she a fellow vice too. So we going to shout all that out every chance I get. Look, everybody know. At this point,
HU.
Hey, Howard finna be insufferable for the next 4 years. All right. Trust and believe. We're going to get on everybody. We're going to work y'all nerves. But HU, I had to get in there. So I follow you on social media. And one of the things I love about what you do is bring that. Now, I'm going to just be honest. You bring we used to call it back in the day, Gen X, Rico Suave, right? Because you be posing with your suits and looking all fly, right? And looking like a model and whatnot. And so tell me, do you think, I know that it is. Why do you think that's important, the way that you show up and present yourself on social media? And this kind of goes back to, I'm sure this like some free jewels, like our friend Charlemagne says, you're going to get people some free jewels about why it's important to present yourself, particularly as a person of color, present yourself in a certain way when you're out there really promoting your specialty, your field, your nonprofit, and the work that you do.
Mainly to to get rid of the negative stereotypes with therapists. I think many times people, when they think about therapists, they think of Dr. Phil, and that's one way to be how to be a therapist, which is some people are like that, most people are not. Dr. Phil is his own person, which is many Black therapists are their own people as well. So, this is why we have people enter fields like being a drug dealer or other things, because they see it's pretty cool. You get the nice car, the nice house. But when they think about therapists, they don't associate those things with being a therapist. So showing that you can be a cool therapist, a relatable therapist, a personable therapist, and also do your job as well. So I think it's very important for us to see more than anything else.
Oh, I'd love that. And I never thought about it like that. So it makes sense. It helps it crystallize even more for me why it is so important, because part of what you're doing is trying to encourage people, one, to come into the field. And Lord
Yeah.
knows we need way, way,
Oh,
way,
of
way, way more of us, right? Woo. Right? Because
course.
there's so few, right? So we know that for in the field of psychology, I think at any level, whether it's master's, PhD, something like 3 or 4% of us are Black.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers are similar across all of our other racial ethnic groups. So, Latinx is not a lot, Asian American, definitely not a lot of Native Americans. Like, in fact, the last time I looked at stats, what people do, which I hate, is they list us out in columns or like in these rows, like it's the Black folks and it's Latinx and it's Asian and it's Native. And when you get to Native American, American Indian, you'll see the less than sign and like a
Mm-hmm.
1%. I'm like, that doesn't tell me anything. Like less than one, like give us a number. Like how many do you estimate it might be? Because otherwise what ends up happening is it's like invisibility and erasure. Right.
Correct.
So I was talking with a colleague yesterday. We were prepping for this event. Her name is Nikki Petrie, and she works for the Aspen Institute and runs a Native American mental health suicide prevention organization. And she said it. She said, invisibility, we can't allow that to be. So we have to name things. So what I'm saying is, I'm long-winded, but what I'm saying is what you're doing by marketing yourself and putting yourself out there the way that you do is putting a face to, right? You can be a doctor, you can be Black, you can be a mental health professional, right? You can have nice clothes and
Yeah.
present yourself really right? And so I love that. And it makes a lot of sense. So tell me, when you also talked about your nonprofit, and we'll get into that
Yes.
some, but tell me a little bit about what kind of reactions do you get from young people who follow you on socials? Like, are they like, oh, I never knew I could be that? Like, what kinds of responses do you get from, let's say, younger, anybody under 30?
You're a therapist, you're a doctor. The shock on their faces, I think, it lets me know that I'm doing the right thing. Because to let them know that you can be a cool therapist, a cool doctor, is one of the things I want to do for the community, because they need to see that. They need to know that you could have all the nice things that other professions have, like medical doctors or engineers, that they could afford, that we could do the same thing as well. And brag about it and show up a little bit, just let them know, hey, we got this.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So before we get to the nonprofit part, I would love to dive in just a teeny bit on the celebrity therapist part. So clearly, I'm not going to ask you who you treating. I would never do that, right? Because we know better. Right? It's confident. You can't tell
Right.
anyway. But how have you found, right? Celebrity therapists could also be celebrity. You provide care to celebrities, but it could also be, I see myself as one, right? And I want you to understand this is how I'm showing up in the world. So I posted earlier today on my Instagram. I
Mm-hmm.
just went for it. Like, I don't usually do this. So Gen X, I think we have a lot of, especially Black ones, we have
Okay.
and Latinx, we have a lot of hesitance, I think, about putting ourselves out there on social media, because it feels like it goes against what we were taught as
Right.
kids. And what we're taught as kids, as Black folks, is like, you be humble and you kind of be quiet. But look, the millennials and them Gen Z, turn up, right? Like, you gonna know everything I'm doing. I'm gonna put it out there. So today I got a little bold and fancy. So I was like, okay, I got all the makeup on for the week because I ain't putting it back on no more. And let me go and take this picture. And then I put under it, I put an old Outcast lyric. Ain't nobody dope as me. I'm just so fresh, so clean.
Hey.
And I was nervous. I was like, should I do this? Like, and I put it up there and immediately it's like, bing, 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 bing. Like all these people are responding, but it's mostly young people. And so I'm sorry for the noise. And so, excuse me, for me, like that was my process. It's like every time I post myself, I'm nervous. So, doctor, give me some advice. Help a sister out. teach me a little bit about how do I change that mindset? And I think as you're explaining it to me, you can also be explaining it to some of these other aspiring people who want to be where you are, people who want 70,000 Instagram followers. Like, how do you explain that to us? Like, help us give us some like mini therapy, some mini free jewels. Help us like sort of calm ourselves down about that a little bit. What would you say?
It's funny you said that because I was talking to somebody the other day about this. How what's the difference between someone, your professor, who has written many books, and but me, who is just not entering the field, been here about quite some years now, but just fairly new to the game.
Yeah.
Difference is I'm more relatable, and the people that I serve, it makes a huge difference. You could write X amount of books, you could be on TV and so forth, but if you're not relatable, personable, nobody wants to talk to you. Being personable is 50% of the battle. The other 50% is, of course, being knowledgeable and therapeutic, but you have to be personable to the population that you're working with. I think many therapists fail to realize that. If they can't connect with you on a personal level, or be like, oh, he's cool, I want to talk to him. If they can't say that to you, they're not going to say nothing to you.
Right.
They're going to come to your office, check you out, and then leave and never come back. And you don't want that.
Right. Oh, I love that. So basically, it's like you put it out there because you're kind of selling yourself. Do you know what I mean? You're not selling your soul, but you're marketing you because you are the instrument of change. Like if you're not there to engage with, some people say patient, some people say client, then you can't provide the therapeutic tools. You can't provide the wisdom and the knowledge to allow the person, right, to change. And so you're the instrument. So basically what you're saying is you got to fine tune that instrument and you have to market that instrument. Does that sound right?
Of course. And then one thing I would say is that one of the things I'm hearing from a lot of therapists that they are getting frustrated because a lot of life coaches are getting reached out to people rather than seeing a therapist. And I always tell them, of course, one of the reasons is because more life coaches are more relatable. They use social media to their advantage. They're more out there in the general public. Therapists traditionally are known to be more reserved and quiet and calm, and so which just doesn't help us to get out there and get relatable to the people that we want to serve. So we have to change that as a whole, as a community, as a profession. We got to change that, put ourselves out there more in the public eye.
So it's kind of like you got to boss up, right? If you want people to see you as a boss, you got to act like a boss. Like we teach people this all the time in clinical care and in therapy. It's like you fake it till you make it, right? And it's that idea of manifesting what you want. You have to. I tell people this all the time. You got to feel it. I've been thinking about this because one of the things I really desperately want, and I really believe is possible, is to work with the new administration around COVID relief for mental health. We've been talking about the vaccine and all that, but ain't nobody talking about mental health at the level that we should. And you and I both know it's like at crisis levels, especially among our young people. And so, right. And people aren't getting care. So part of what we have to do is make sure that we're positioning ourselves, as you say, in a relatable way so that people can feel like there are options out there for them, right? There are people they can go to who, to use your words again, are relatable and who will understand their experience. So talk to me a little bit about how that shows up, the relatability, the spreading the message in the work that you do with your nonprofit. Is it, I see it?
How we see it.
How we see it. I'm so sorry. How we see it. So let me say real quick, I want to share with people some context. So I had the opportunity to watch Dr. Rocker and his colleague. You're going to name him for me because I want to make sure everybody knows that people know who you both are. And
just me.
It's just you. Okay. I remember other folks presenting with you at the event. Maybe that's what I'm remembering. And this was at Taraji Henson's Can We Talk event.
Yes.
Ooh, good Lord. It's almost 2 years ago. And you did a session with young people. So talk to me a little bit about that work with How I See It. Talk to me about what you do with the young people and why it's important.
It's how we see it.
How we see it.
Yes, and mostly because I created something called hip hop therapy, where I teach kids about mental health issues through the use of hip hop. Because one thing I learned in hip hop music, kids could cite every word to every song. Most kids they could do that. When you talk about mental health, they have no idea what it is. So what I decided to do is combine it to and teach them and have them have a way to express themselves. Because kids nowadays don't feel comfortable expressing their emotions, their thoughts, and their feelings. So what better way to do it than the music that they listen to, and to also create music about the way they feel. And that's how I created the workshop called Hip Hop Therapy.
Okay, so in this workshop, are the kids just listening, or are they actually getting to do something with hip hop? How does that work? A little bit that you can tell us.
Okay, so the way it is that we provide them with the education, of course, the
Okay.
basic education about mental health, because it's all
Okay.
about putting mental health awareness.
Mhm.
And then they take that information and they create their own music in the way they understand it.
Oh, I love that, because what you're doing is reinforcing
Hmm.
the primary message, which is caring for your mental health or whatever kind of mental health knowledge you want them to have, and you're reinforcing it through a medium that resonates with them,
Right.
which is hip
A,
hop.
a skill that they already have.
Oh my God, that's wonderful. So how has COVID impacted, because it sounds like this is something where you do it in person. Well, I saw
Yeah.
it in person. How has COVID impacted your this work that you do with your nonprofit?
You know what? It has impacted us tremendously. I will say that. This is a workshop that is mostly done face to face because kids like to see face to face. There's a lot of dancing, singing, or rapping, but we were able to transition to doing it virtual. It has shown a lot of progress, but we still miss the face to face interactions. So does the kids, because I think that human interaction, there's no substituting that. You definitely need that in a sense.
Oh, I love that.
Hmm.
So one of the other things I learned, I remember this from when I participated in the workshop, is the area of the country that you're in.
Yeah.
And in that area of the country, this I feel like is really important and not talked about enough.
Hmm.
There is diversity among Black people.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, can you talk a little bit about what some of those points of diversity are among Black people, and how you see that showing up as it in mental health conversations or in the work that you do with young people, if at all? Maybe it's like it's not a big deal, or maybe you don't see any differences across the ethnic groups. But what are these different ethnic groups that you encounter among Black folks under this umbrella term of Black? And do those different ethnic groups approach mental health and mental illness differently?
Well, I'll say this personally. I'm Haitian American. So my parents were born in Haiti and were a place where they didn't believe in mental health. As a matter of fact, they didn't provide no education about mental health. So when things were to go wrong, they would rather go to a pastor or witch doctor rather than a mental health therapist. So going to in this country, when things were when there was tough times in the past, they would never even thought about, okay, you need to get some help. And I think that's something within different ethnic groups, especially here in Florida. People are more willing to go to friends, family, pastors, and everything else but a therapist, mainly because they want to be criticized or acknowledged as someone being quote unquote crazy. And
Mhm.
no one wants to be termed those terms. So
Mhm.
that's one of the struggles that we have, even as therapists in the field, where people are hesitant to go see a therapist because they always think they're going to diagnose them as being crazy.
Mhm. I love that. I love you articulating about your background, cuz it's really important to me for people, and young people in particular, but people in general, to see
Yeah,
that this identity of Blackness is very diverse,
it
right? And
is.
so, my little bit of French, ça va. I should have greeted you, ça va, comment ça va? Um, je parle comprends un peu le français, mais je prendrai le français, but it's terrible, right? So if you start talking, I'm gonna be like, huh? Je ne comprends pas. That's all I'm gonna keep saying, because I don't understand.
I speak
So
Creole, not French, but it's okay.
okay. So I don't even know any of that, right? So I think that the idea of presenting yourself fully as a Haitian person, a Haitian American person, and knowing that background, and knowing, where parents, the first places they're going to think to go when a child has, might be struggling with something, it's
Mhm.
important. And would you say that there are ways that you work within that? Like, how do you help families or young people? Because there's also the intergenerational or the generational differences. So if the parents were born in Haiti, right, and come to the US,
Mhm.
and the children are born here, they're growing up with kind of different ideas. And one of the things made me laugh as I was watching, I think she might be Haitian, and I know I'm gonna say her name wrong. She's a reporter. I think it's Shamiche. She's a White House reporter.
Okay.
And she tweeted yesterday that her mom was saying to her something about, oh, his real name is, and she said the name I can't pronounce, but Kodak Black. So I didn't know
Uh,
Kodak Black had Haitian
yeah.
ancestry, right? And so he has a beautiful name, but I couldn't pronounce it properly. And her mom's like, yeah, but his real name, he ain't no Kodak Black. His real name is, and she said his Haitian name, his given name. And I think that speaks to some of those generational differences, right? And so are there ways in which you can educate us? Because we have a lot of mental health professionals who listen to the
Mhm.
podcast, about how to help people, whoever wants to engage, kids and parents who may be coming from slightly different perspectives as it relates to what mental illness and mental health are and where you get care for it?
I would say for all therapists, just be patient with them, because they understand that this is new for them. This is, we've been doing this for many years, but for them, this is the first time actually being able to share their issues with a total stranger. Because that's unheard of within the Haitian culture or most ethnic groups in different countries. So I would say most there, be patient, be relatable, connect with them, listen to what they're telling you, try to understand as much as possible. But most important of all, like anything else, connect with them on a deeper level.
I
Find your
like that.
personal way to connect with them.
Oh, I love that.
Mhm.
So I think that speaks to, and I don't know if this happened in your training, but in my training, we were taught there's sort of your own worldview,
Yeah,
and then there's the worldview of your patient or your client. And your job is not, you can't know every single thing there is to know about everybody. Like, for example, my faux pas thinking like all Haitians speak French. I know Creole. I know people speak Haitian Creole, but also assuming that everybody who's Haitian speaks French and Haitian Creole, right?
right.
So it's like being able to recognize when you make a mistake. And in my case, apologizing for the mistake, which I didn't do. So I apologize for making that assumption.
All good.
Thank you. And then being able to move forward, right? So, because I think that's part of the healing. So, no, you're not going to know everything there is to know about a particular family. You're not going to know everything there is to know about their culture. Um, but I think what you can do is be open to learning and be open to not using your patient as your sole teacher, like going
Right.
out and finding other information. Do you have thoughts about that? Because I hear that a lot. It's like people of color will go into therapy and they'll be like, yeah, but they want me to explain light skin, dark skin, and HBCUs versus predominantly white institutions. I ain't trying to explain all that. I'm trying to get help. So, what kind of advice do you have for, because we have white mental health professionals and heterosexual cisgender mental health professionals who want to be allies, right, to people in marginalized communities. What thoughts do you have for us around this idea of cultural competence, what it means, and how we incorporate it into our work with diverse people?
Like I said, being honest, being open, letting them know, what, it's okay if you don't know the Haitian culture. Tell your client, you know what, I don't know the Haitian culture. Would you mind teaching me or sharing much information so I can help you to the best of my knowledge? I think as therapists, we're always known to be the expert in someone's life, which is not the case. The client's the expert in their lives. So once you take that approach, I think it's very helpful to you moving forward with the therapeutic session.
Okay, I like that. I
Mm.
like that. So creating space to say, as a provider, I don't know everything, right? I'm
Mhm.
learning. I want to work on it. And are there things that you think it's important for me to know that you want to tell me about who you are, about your background and your culture? Because those are the things that we then get to use, and we can use that, and that can help build the therapeutic alliance and help
Colors.
build our work relationship. I love that. I love that. Okay. All right. That's great. So I'm curious a little bit about, like, shifting gears just a teeny bit. What
Hmm.
kinds of things do you think we need to be thinking about as it relates to our young people, given what happened January 6th, the insurrection? Do you have any thoughts about that? How should we be talking to young people about what happened, about what they saw? Should we be concerned about them being traumatized by what they saw? Do you have any worries, about how the insurrection might have negatively impacted our young people?
You know, mixed emotions about that
Okay.
because the young people, they see things, they take it in, they don't know how to respond to it. So some of them, they can respond in a negative way, some of them respond in a positive way. But for those who respond in a negative way, I'm hoping and I'm encouraging them to express themselves to the people around them, family members, and of course the mental health professional, because if they're not treated, it could get a lot worse, and they can retaliate in the most negative way in the future, and it also impacts their interaction with relationships in the future as well.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it just overall just encourage them to express themselves as much as possible because they need that. I think kids these days, when things go wrong, they don't say nothing, so parents think everything is good and gravy, which is not the case. They just hold
Right.
it in, and then when it's time to blow up, they blow up at the worst time. Now, and it becomes a terrible time to do so. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that everybody just open up, please, and talk about it.
Okay. I think that's good advice. Like, whatever it was that people were seeing, how they interpreted it,
Yeah.
is really key that they learn how to express themselves.
You
Do
got
you find that a lot of our young people really understand that concept of expressing themselves in healthy ways? Do you find that when you do hip hop therapy through how we see it, right? Did I get it
you
right?
got it right.
Um, through your nonprofit, that you have to teach young people not just about signs and symptoms of mental illness, but like emotional wellness. What does it mean to be well? What does it mean to see something like that insurrection, have feelings, and name your feelings? Do you find that a lot of our young people are, I don't know, in your opinion, equipped to know how to recognize and process their feelings? And, if not, how do you help them learn how to do that?
I think the more we have this dialogue, the more we have this conversation goes a long way for children because it starts with us. When they see us, when they be on TV or the radio, opening up about our emotions, our thoughts, it encourages them to do so and do the same as well. So in our workshop, I always say in the beginning, people like most kids do when they're doing a group. I always get group project. They're
Yeah.
like, I do this. Oh my gosh, this is stupid. And then
Yeah.
they see the end of it, they're dancing, say, oh my gosh, let's do this again
Yeah.
because you have to open that space for them to be free with their emotions and their thoughts. But the only way to do so is it starts with you. Once you open that space with your own personal self-disclosure, you don't have to go too detailed with it. But when you open up with yourself, then it encourages to open up with themselves as well.
Oh, that is wonderful. It just makes me think about, the celebrities who are out here now who are
Oh yeah.
Black and of color, who are being super open about their own experiences. And I'm wondering, are there any, we're not saying they're the only one that you follow, but just as an example, are there any that you've seen out there that you feel like are sharing their message in a way? Maybe there's a couple that really resonates with the young people in your life. Like, I think for me, mine are my own children are teenagers. And, I think they hear mommy say it so much, they're like, whatever. You're like, they don't, what I'm saying? They're like, nah, just, they're like, whatever. And unless it's somebody that I'm gonna introduce them to, like my daughter had this celebrity she was real fixated on like 2 years ago. And I met him and took a picture with him and texted it to her. She was like, "Oh my God, mom, you met Chris Wood." Right. And she's lost it. Now, to be honest, I wasn't as familiar with his work. And I didn't know he was a big icon among the kids. I sound like an old
Hmm.
person, but it's true among the kids. So, but if it's not something like that, she's kinda like, "Ugh." And my son is like, "Whatever, mom." So who's out there that from your perspective, other than you, Mr. Celebrity Therapist,
That's all.
doctor, that you see that you feel like their message is really resonating with young people, not just old people like me, but with the young people?
I think LeBron James. Surprisingly or not, he's reaching all types of people, from the young to the older folks to different ethnicities. His message and his opinions about the black community and mental health goes a long way, and I think it resonates with people all across the globe.
Oh my God. Okay, so now I'm gonna have to go follow King James because I
Yeah,
wasn't aware
thank
that he was putting that message out there. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're ones that we know who've been out there for years. Charlemagne been out there for years talking about Black
you.
folks and mental health, right? Taraji has a show now, and she and Tracy, I was gonna say Tracy J, but Tracy Jenkins are now talking about, mental health on their platform. Those are the two that, immediately stand out to me. There are a lot of white celebrities who do it all the time, right? So I
Correct.
think about Billie Eilish. She's always talking about like her mental health and that kind of thing. And a lot of the YouTubers who will take these breaks and be like, I gotta be off here for a while because the pressure of being a YouTuber is heavy. And some of them probably need to take a break. And I haven't seen them take a break yet. But I was not aware of that about LeBron James, and I think that's awesome.
And for
Because
me,
you're right.
I,
Yeah.
I focus on celebrities too because I'm seeing too many celebrities committing suicide, from
Mm,
Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Robin Williams, Heath
yeah.
Ledger, Juice World. There's so many people that's gone through it that they never felt comfortable sharing their issues. So, people always talking about people have problems,
Yeah.
and which is very understandable. Celebrities, their problems are times 10.
Yeah.
And they don't feel comfortable putting out in the general public because they feel like they're gonna get scrutinized by many people, if not all the people that they look up to them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they definitely need to talk to them.
Wow. But
Hmm.
I would imagine that it's hard for them to find people because you don't know who's other, I mean, you do this work, but
Right.
I don't know that you can go to a directory and be like, okay, who's a good therapist for somebody who's famous or a celebrity? So I don't know. Maybe, you never know. Maybe there'll be some, so when you put this on your socials, it'll be a whole bunch of celebrities who will listen to this when we air. But what would you say to those people? Um, what would you say to those people who are in the public eye, who are of color, right?
Hmm.
And might need some help? What would you say to them about getting help?
It's the same thing like being in a relationship or trying to get into a relationship. You do your research, you look them up and down, see what you like, see does it meet your criteria, and go for it. Because
Okay.
at the end of the day, you have to get the help. There's no
Okay.
any way about it. You got to get the help. Talk to somebody about it. Don't end your life like some people have chosen to do so. I don't want nobody to go
Mm,
that route because it's sad to see. And
mm.
for the people who follow those people, then they start thinking, you know what, I should be doing the same thing as well. And I don't want that message to go out there. And that's why I'm so motivated to work with celebrities, because the people that they reach goes further the reach that I could do.
Right, right.
You know?
Oh, yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. How does your reach extend when you work through celebrities? What message do you feel like that sends to the people who follow those celebrities?
That it's okay to seek help.
Okay.
I, that's the message that I want all celebrities to promote on their platforms. That it's okay to seek help. It's okay to talk about their problems. It's okay to see a therapist. It's okay,
Oh, I
and
love
you don't have to be ashamed about it.
I love that. I love that. So I think, that is a wonderful place to like sort of bookend the conversation because, we start with you talking about your own work and your own
Yeah.
experience, right? With
Mhm.
marketing and your nonprofit. Um, and what your goal is to really get the message out there that it's okay to seek help through these different facets of the work that you do. And then
Correct.
to come full circle to talking about how important it is to let people know, even when they're big wigs in the public eye, that their mental health matters too, right? And one of the things we say with my nonprofit is um, mental health research and care for all, right? And the other thing that
Mhm.
we often say is uh, everybody deserves an opportunity to have optimal mental health, right? And so I
Yeah.
feel like that's what you're saying echoes that and it resonates really strongly. So as we close out, let me ask two final things. One
Okay.
is, what kinds of feelings, if any, do you have about our inauguration on January 20th and sort of, I don't know, just what that means for you. And then if you can share with people, where can they, again, one more time, where they can follow you, information about your nonprofit and information about your marketing company where you're teaching mental health providers how to do a better job of marketing themselves. So inauguration, any feelings related to that? And then how can people get in touch with you, benefit from, all the different awesome products and services that you provide?
Okay. Well, first I'll say good riddance. Mr. 45 had to go, so I'm glad that's that's over and done with.
I,
But Mr. 46, Mr. Biden over here, he got some work to do. So I'm
yes.
hoping that everything that he promised, that he does fulfill that. Take care of the student loans, because Lord knows I got a lot of them. Please take care of those student loans.
I love it.
That's taken care of ASAP.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but it looks like we're heading in a better direction now.
I love it. Okay. I think that's wonderful. And the final thing is, how can people follow you? How can they learn more about, I know well, I'm not going to say it, you say it. How can they learn more about your nonprofit and how can they learn more about the, learning how to market themselves better as mental health professionals?
All right. You can find that information on Instagram at AskJeff, which is AskJeff, or our business page, which is howwe_see it, or even our website, which is howweseeit.org.
Oh, wonderful. So, Dr. Rocker, thank you so much for
Of course.
being with me today. It was a pleasure to have you. I will continue to watch the star rise, and we're going to have to do something together between the Acoma Project and how we see it. So, we need to be thinking about how can we collaborate to bring this message in hip hop therapy, because I'm an old school hip hop head, honey. Tribe
Tupac.
Called Quest all day. Now I'm old, even
Oh,
before Tupac, right? So we talking about Tribe Called Quest, LL, back when LL was a rapper.
right.
I just love LL, right? I'm so shocked that so many people don't know he was a rapper. All they know him is from NCIS. I'm like, Who don't know that's a rapper? Where do you think he got the name LL Cool J? That is not an actor's name, right? So
Hey,
Biggie, I'm all of that, right? Even, I like a lot of new stuff too. So I do like Young Thug, although it's some misogynistic stuff. We ain't gonna go there. We ain't gonna go there. I'm gonna leave it alone. He got tight beats, so we leave Young Thug alone. But thank you so much. And it has been a pleasure to talk with you, and I'm wishing you only the best.
You too. Thank you for having me.
All right. So, Dr. Rocker, as I said, it's just been such a pleasure to have you here with us. I'm so
Yeah.
excited for the work that you're doing through how we see it,
Yes.
and through teaching our young mental health professionals how to market themselves, so we can expand the work that we do to reach as many people as possible. And I really love what you said about it's nice for, I'm paraphrasing, for people to see Dr. Phil. It's also important for them to see
Dr. Rocker
Dr. Rocker.
all day.
Yeah. So thank you.
No, of course. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate that.
Of course. So there you have it. That's a wrap for another episode of Couched in Color. We want you to know that we deeply value you, all of our viewers and our listeners, and everyone out there working to support optimal mental health, both for themselves and for our young people. Now, one of the best ways you can help our movement is by leaving us a 5-star review on our YouTube channel and everywhere you enjoy your audio podcasts, and by sharing our podcast with a friend. Please also tag us while you're out there listening and watching. Finally, head on over to dralfie.com for more information about me, www.acomaproject.org for information about my nonprofit, and those are the places you can go to learn more about how you can help. So I'll see you next week. And until then, I'm going to say what I always say, which is that I'm wishing you lots of love, lots of light, and that I'm hoping it is always, always informed by good, culturally relevant science. Take care.